This is John Murphy at Murtech.com with your daily news update. Okay, here we are on October the 15th in the year of our Lord 2025. And as usual, I got a lot of great information for you. Let's come over here and check out my news update appetizers. And let's see if I can get something to play. Tonight I'm having a little problem with YouTube. That's where I pull my appetizers from. So let's check this out. Yeah, see, there we go. An error occurred. Please try again later. So I guess Rumble's not the only one that has problems with that. Okay, let's go ahead and we'll get started on tonight's program. Let me get this screen up again and click on the Murtech on Rumble link. And this is the video you're watching right now. My episode 1716. Let's go ahead and get into that. Let me close out the video you're watching. Pause that. Let me expand the description box by clicking the Show More button. We have information from Wendy Bell, Benny Johnson, Glenn Beck, and X22 report. But before we get into that, I do have to give some shout outs here to William Spritzer. Just started following my channel. Debbie BS reposted my episode 1715. Debbie also commented on my episode 1715. Debbie BS also commented on my extra 500A, 500C, and 500B. So thank you very much, Debbie BS, for your comments and reposting. And thank you, William Spritzer, for following my channel. I hope you're watching and I hope you enjoy the content. Okay, let me give this a thumbs up. Boom. And we'll just go ahead and get into that. We'll get into our program tonight. Wendy Bell Radio, The Way We Were. That'd be a good song title. But at any rate, let's go ahead and click into this and get it started for you.
It's magic, ladies and gentlemen. The Pentagon wants the media to be like North Korea. What's going on? Clearly, something really screwy is going on over at the Pentagon. Welcome back to the Wendy Bell Radio program. Look, as a recently recovered member of the mainstream media, I can tell you with all sincerity that as I've read these documents and I've seen what the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, is asking the members of the media to do, to sign a paper to acknowledge they understand that there are some things that are changing at the Pentagon when it comes to their credentialing, to their ability to roam freely all over the place and do whatever the hell they want. I wasn't offended by it at all. It's no infringement on your ability to cover news. They're not telling you what you need to say, right? This is what the left does. This is what the mainstream media do. They walk in lockstep. They get their talking points by somebody, which is why we had an insurrection that day. Remember? Flipping through the channels, and you're like, wait a minute. From Fox to CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, NBC, all of them, BBC. What's going on? Why is everybody using that word? Like, I've never used the word insurrection. And then all of a sudden, he's like, oh my gosh, it's an insurrection. And I was like, that's super fishy. You think? And so the Department of War is like, yeah, not anymore. We're going to change some stuff. And their pants are on fire in the media. Do you know who we are? We get to do whatever we want. We want the way things were. Well, sorry. Ain't happening. Pentagon access is a privilege. It's not a right. Pete Hegseth drawing the line as media refused to sign this document. Journalists from across the political spectrum face a 5 p.m. Tuesday deadline yesterday to sign the Department of War's new Pentagon access agreement or surrender their credentials. Okay. Okay. And major outlets, including the New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, The Atlantic, Reuters, even Newsmax, announced they would not comply. The Department of War's updated media access policy has prompted some widespread refusal from national and international news organizations that say the new guidelines impose unacceptable restrictions on press freedom. Shut up. Can I just unilaterally say, shut up? See, we long ago stopped trusting you. We look at you with contempt. When I see one of your headlines pop up in my Google search, and it's always like the first 7 pages or all of the outlets that I would never trust. The Guardian, Mother Jones, right? New York Times, Washington Post. I'm like, no, how about somebody who doesn't propagandize? Always. Good luck finding that. So this thing, the journalists had to sign an acknowledgement outlining these restrictions on gathering and publishing information in order to retain Pentagon press credentials. I'm going to go out on a limb and say ad lib here. Pete Hegseth and Sean Parnell are saying, you know what? This is a matter of national security. We're not playing war games with you. We're involved in a lot of very tenuous things that involve diplomacy, that involve secrecy, that involve top secret things, classified things. And any journalist who wants to middle around, go up here to the 3rd floor or whatever, and hobnob with people they shouldn't be rubbing elbows with to get a scoop, to drop classified information, to put Americans' lives in danger, it's done. We're not doing it anymore. And so there are some new rules. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth defended the new procedures, and I want you to hear what he had to say. Here's Pete. This isn't. It's not a far-fetched thing that he said.
Well, I very much appreciate the question because it was interesting to watch. We had a chance to go along on the historic trip of Middle East peace, which our generation of veterans never dreamed would be possible. So you would think that the Pentagon press corps of all press corps would be front and center across the board on wanting to give credit to the president for forging this kind of peace, and instead what they want to talk about is a policy about them, which simply says maybe the policy should look like the White House or other military installations where you have to wear a badge that identifies that you're press, or you can't just roam anywhere you want. It used to be, Mr. President, the press could go anywhere, pretty much anywhere in the Pentagon, the most classified area in the world. Or also that if they sign on to the credentialing, they're not going to try to get soldiers to break the law by giving them classified information. So it's common sense stuff, Mr. President. We're trying to make sure national security is respected, and we're proud of the policy.
See, journalists long ago stopped being reporters. They stopped covering news objectively, presenting you with facts, giving you what people say on either side of an argument or a policy. They stopped long ago ferreting out facts, being tenacious diggers for truth, and they became basic mouthpieces of the Democratic Party. And it's been for a long time. And they think, hey, we own the Pentagon. And Pete Hegseth said, yeah, no, you don't. No, you don't. So you're going to wear this really nice red badge that identifies you as a guest of the Pentagon, and you're not allowed to go in certain areas anymore. And if you do, and you have a reason to, you'll be accompanied by an escort. Oh my gosh, freedom of the press. It's over with. What? We need to go back to the way things were. Well, so how did this really play out? Because it ain't the way the media is telling you. I guarantee it. Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell up next with the skinny. Don't miss it on the Wendy Bell Radio Network.
All right, let's go ahead and skip this up here. She's getting ready to go on her bottom of the hour break, which lasts about 7 minutes. So let me get this through here to about the 35-minute mark.
Parnell.
Here we go. Enjoy. She gets fired up, doesn't she?
Welcome back to the Wendy Bell Radio program. You know, it's always a delight to have our friend Sean Parnell, Pentagon spokesman extraordinaire, back on the program. I am so geeked to hear your voice. How are you?
Hey, Wendy, I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. Life's a little busy down here, but hey, it's good. I get to serve my country again.
I feel bad. Like, we're taking you away from what you're doing, but I got to get to the bottom of this. Like, what is going on with this new system of rules that the media are having a fit over?
So I get to the Pentagon, and keep in mind that there are 30,000 people in this building, in and out of this building every day, who work there. It is the most classified, highly sensitive building in the world. It's the headquarters of the United States military, just for listeners who might not know. But I get there, and the media, they have this whole hallway called the Correspondence Corridor, where they're provided these cush offices, and they're just wandering everywhere, like up outside the secretary's office, in and out of sensitive areas. And for about the first 6 or 7 months, we dealt with at the highest levels of our military. Now, keep in mind, like, there are operations happening all over the world, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, that keep this country safe. And the first 6, 7 months in the job, we dealt with some very, very high-profile leaks that could, one, put lives at risk, and two, put our country at risk. And so we said, okay, we got to do something about this and give some structure to the media that's in this building. Because what happens is you've got people in the building that might not be aligned with where the president is, or they disagree with an operation, and then they leak bits and pieces of intelligence to the media that don't paint the full picture, and then they push this fake narrative as a part of it. Well, I mean, we're trying to put a stop to that. And so we basically said, with this new media policy, you can still have your offices. There are set places within the building that you can go. In other sensitive areas, you have to have an escort, and you have to wear a badge that says press, that makes it clearly identifiable that you are press. And the last thing is, you can't solicit classified information. It's one thing if you know, the Pentagon Papers in the Vietnam War, where a reporter was given classified information. That's a totally different thing than what I'm talking about. Reporters, where they are specifically asking for and receiving classified information, they're not allowed to do that anymore, and they have a real problem with that.
I am under the understanding here that you're also telling the media how they should cover the Pentagon and what stories they're allowed to cover.
Yeah, that's not true. I mean, as evidenced by the 100% negative coverage that we've received. I mean, so by the way, so President Trump, 97% negative coverage by the mainstream media. Pete Hegseth, 100%.
Wow.
So clearly we have absolutely, we are not controlling what they are writing at all, because if we were, the stories would be a little bit more positive than they are. But the point is, this is all about striking the right balance between, First Amendment freedoms, which are protected in the Constitution, and freedom of the press, which is unbelievably important, but also national security and protecting people's lives. And that's the balance that we're trying to strike. And the other thing, Wendy, is, like, we worked with the media on this. We met with the networks. We met with the Pentagon Press Association, and in good faith negotiated this together through 2 or 3 rounds of negotiations. They had their feedback. They never once protested. In fact, they were really grateful for working with us, and you saw that reflected even in the New York Times, where the New York Times said, hey, we're grateful for the Pentagon working with us on this. And then when it came time to sign the document, it had nothing to do with First Amendment protections or anything else, but simply about, they didn't want to acknowledge, like in the signature block, that they understood the policy. When you sign something, hey, I understand this policy signed whoever their name is. You know what I mean?
These are the people who don't know what a woman is.
It's insane.
They don't understand what a woman is, apparently. So I guess they don't understand. I understand. That's all you're saying, right? Who didn't sign it?
Nobody. Basically, like, nobody signed it. But that's okay. And by the way, for everyone that's listening, this is not about what reporters can and can't write.
Correct.
This is about their access to the building. They can do whatever they want, reporting from their news bureaus 5 minutes away. But when you're in my house, you play by my rules. And if you're in the Pentagon, the most secure building on the face of the planet, you got to abide by our rules if you want to have access to the facility. And I think it's an eminently fair argument, especially given the high profile leaks that we've had for the first 6, 7, 8 months in this job. It's about protecting the American people and protecting American troops who are out there doing very dangerous things every day.
You know what? It's almost like the childish media want to play reindeer games while the adults in the room are trying to keep people from getting blown up and killed. So there's that. But Oliver Darcy, Sean, a former CNN media reporter, he says that you're wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. So I'm going to educate you a little bit thanks to Oliver Darcy and get your reaction on the flip side. Listen to this.
Pete Hegseth wants these reporters to be North Korean style propagandists where they go on the air and they only repeat government talking points. They parrot what the government is telling them is okay to say, and they're not permitted to do anything else. They are basically saying the act of reporting, the act of getting the real story behind the scenes is a criminal act. And they're asking reporters to acknowledge that, to sign a document acknowledging that. Obviously, no news organization is going to go along with this. And so basically every single news organization has, including Fox News, has said, no, thank you, Pete Hegseth. We'll just leave the Pentagon.
Wow. Your reaction.
Well, Oliver Darcy is a dishonorable loser. The very first time I met with the media, I met with them, he published an off-the-record conversation, which in this job, like if it's off the record, it's off the record. That's just code of conduct. You don't leak off-the-record conversations. Well, he published it gleefully. He's not an honorable person. He's absolutely full of it. That's obviously not what we're doing, given that 100% of the coverage that we've received by outlets like CNN and others has been negative. So clearly we're not exercising some North Korean level of control over the media to get positive stories out of them. What we're trying to do is protect this country and protect the people who are out there doing the difficult work to protect America. And by the way, unauthorized disclosure to the media, it is a crime. It was a law passed by Congress for all Department of War civilians and military personnel. Unauthorized disclosures to the media is a crime. If the media doesn't like that, or if Congress doesn't like that, then change the law. But as for now, our job is to follow the laws that are written, and unauthorized disclosure to the media is a crime, and it is what it is.
Amen. So how many people did they in fact lose then their credentials, these various operations, including Newsmax?
Yeah. So as of yesterday at 5 p.m., anyone who didn't sign the document, and again, this is simply for access purposes in the building, they didn't sign the document by 5 p.m. Have to report from their bureaus. Now, if there's a press conference or there's a media event or we're traveling, we'll put out a media notice. Media will come to the building. They'll apply for a visitor's pass. They'll be escorted to the Pentagon briefing room. They'll be able to ask questions just like normal. They just won't be able to free roam in the building anywhere they want. I mean, so
Unbelievable.
This is not an attack on the First Amendment. This has nothing to do with that. This is about protecting operational security and national security. Again, they can still report from their news bureau anywhere they want outside the building. But if you're inside the building, you got to play by our rules.
Yeah, Oliver Darcy there in that MSNBC clip is talking with Nicole Wallace. Now, if she had an iota of integrity, all she would need to do is print out the document, see what it says, and realize that he was blowing sunshine up her skirt. But of course, that's not what these people do. Are you surprised, even at your level now where you are, by the disingenuous nature of the mainstream news?
Yeah, I think, I am actually. I'm someone who ran two campaigns at a high level. The media was irresponsible during both of those campaigns, and they were fake, and that process opened my eyes to it. But the Pentagon Press Association, the reporters in the building are supposed to be like grad school level type reporters, like a cut above the rest. But this is not the Pentagon that it was 20 years ago. And a lot of people that are opining on this, like General Jack Keane and Barb Starr on CNN, they're looking back to the Pentagon like 20 years ago. Well, the Pentagon The reporters in the Pentagon aren't the same people that were there 20 years ago. The culture has significantly changed. We're a country that's much more divided than we are today. We've got entrenched bureaucrats, especially during President Trump's first administration, most of whom were at the Department of Defense, that were pushing back against his agenda all the time. This is not the Pentagon of 20 years ago. So as things change, as cultures change, as leaders change, as the bureaucracy changes, our policies have to change with it. So I am a little surprised at how cavalier some of the Pentagon reporters, not all of them, but some of them have been with publishing national security or classified information. I mean, look, this is not a hypothetical problem. Like 3 years ago, there was a Department of War civilian who was passing top secret information to two different reporters within the Pentagon who were then publishing that information. One of those people was Courtney Kube from NBC, who is a credentialed Pentagon reporter to this, well, as of yesterday at 5 p.m., she's not, but was a credentialed Pentagon reporter for years. That is a real problem, 100%. And publishing that information puts lives at risk. It puts America at risk, and that's what we're trying to protect this country and strike that right balance. And I think we're doing it.
I think that's what 77 million people voted for. Okay, I've got one more minute. And you know I like to do this too. Sean, tell me something I'm not supposed to know.
I just gave you the first interview on this topic.
I don't care. I want more.
Well, I'll tell you that I always like to talk about Secretary Hegseth in this job. We're doing things that haven't been done before in the Pentagon. You saw it, what we call like the Department of War speech, where we brought all of our leadership in to talk to them about what it means to be a leader in the Department of War. Really what that was supposed to be was a cultural shift to a mindset where we're not going to focus on these woke social justice priorities that deter from readiness and lethality. We're going to focus on winning wars, and we need our leaders' mindset to reflect those changes. Yep. And I mean, that was a decision driven by Secretary Hegseth, like wanting to actually get in front of leaders, shake their hands, and have FaceTime with them. I mean, that tells you a lot about the kind of person that he is, and it also tells you a lot that it's never been done in the Pentagon before. Like, how is it that we've had secretaries that have never met with their senior military leadership all at the same? I mean, it's just
Joe
it's a crazy
Biden had
thing.
like 3 cabinet meetings his whole presidency, Sean. I mean, like it's like interacting with people and actually getting crap done. I just need to know: are we getting credentials? Like, I mean, what kind of alternative?
You want to get absolutely.
Go.
If you want to get credentialed, we'll credential you.
I absolutely want to get credentialed. Are you giving credentials to new media?
We actually are. We're rolling out a new media program. We have a list of about 30 to 35 independent journalists who are going to come and cover the Pentagon. And you can be one of them.
Sean Parnell, Pentagon spokesman, and yes, I'll say it, American hero. Love seeing you and hearing you. Thank you, sir.
All right, great information. Let me go ahead and click on this Rumble link here and show you that this video does come from Wendy Bell Radio. I'm subscribed to her channel, following her channel. I've given her a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. All righty, let's jump back here and see what's next. Looks like we have some information from Benny Johnson. I hope we can get this to play here. This was because I was having some problems with YouTube earlier, and my son was watching YouTube, and he couldn't get some videos to play. So let's keep our fingers crossed. Here we go.
Barack Obama yesterday, not only did he not thank President Trump for the peace agreement in Gaza, but he also in a clip, we don't have to play the clip, but we can just pop it up, said, listen, I was forced to engage in a shadow government. He straight up says it in this interview, and I think he just doesn't care anymore. But he's like, I wanted to get out of government. 8 years was long enough. But because Trump was so mean and such a threat, I was forced to just move down the street, right, to call my Colorama house. And I just had to pretty much play the shadow president. And he kind of just openly admits it here. And I was running the party. There was no leader. So it was just me running the party. And I was effectively running against Trump from down the street in the White House, which is an insane admission, but something that we all knew was happening. Your reaction to this, Eric?
My reaction is he's not very good at running anything because he was a terrible president in my opinion, and beyond that, I mean, he ran on hope. Look how good his library is doing right now. Like, Barack Obama, I am happy to come in and save your presidential library. I mean, the guy literally, they go down the streets in Chicago, Benny, and they're like, what does that look like? And everybody's like, man, that looks like a jail. Like that thing looks like a jail. Now they're like billions of dollars over budget. Every day they're getting, sued for, discrimination. I was reading an article the other day where like everybody in the library is getting sued for discrimination. Like the great irony of all of this. This building is hundreds of millions of dollars over budget. It's years behind schedule. Like the guy literally can't build a building in his home city, and he's talking about running the United States government. Yet my father's over there getting peace deals done that are unthinkable, right? I mean, accomplishing so much. It's the guy needs a little bit inward reflection on being an actionable leader. But either way, my offer still stands. I'm more than happy to finish up the Barack Obama library. I'll actually get it done for him. But no, listen, it's disgusting. This is exactly what we had to work against. I mean, he's the one that came up with the whole concept of the fact that, there was Russian interference and, the Russians were to blame for Hillary Clinton's loss, and the Russians were colluding, and that, Trump had secret servers in the basement of Trump Tower and everything else. I mean, he's behind all of that. I mean, you see all the recent reports that are coming out about this. And I mean, think about the fact that, our government, I mean, think about the millions of hours, press hours, time, effort that was wasted distracting the American people from, hey, in the entire government from being the #1 superpower in the world and being better than China and everything we do, and American exceptionalism, all because, a person wants to put up roadblocks, from, the comfort of their townhome 3 blocks away. It's not very American. And I don't think history is going to look kindly on him for those actions.
We went to the Obama Presidential Library, just since you brought it up. I wasn't planning on it, but we kind of have to. We went to the Presidential Library and we asked people in that neighborhood, Eric, ever so kindly and politely, like, what do they think that it looks like exactly? And everyone told us it looked like a phone booth or a jail or a trash can. Some of the other responses we got was a TARDIS from Doctor Who. Some people just said it looks like a rock. One boy said it looks like a gray mountain. Fine, but like, is that really aspirational? Benny,
I'm in charge. I'm in charge of the Donald J. Trump Presidential Library. Right, I can promise you. First of all, it's going to be done on budget, ahead of schedule, and I can promise you, it's going to be the greatest shrine to the greatest president this country has ever had. And I promise you, it's going to be the greatest structure ever created for a president by far. It's going to be the greatest library ever envisioned. And I promise you, it will not look like a jail. This much I can tell you. It will have the most beautiful curtain wall. I mean, I couldn't even begin to fix that building, and I'm really good at fixing buildings. Like what do you do? You cut through. You know how much concrete went into that? Like, you could have had a substantially more beautiful building for less money that would have actually had windows in it. But what the hell do I know about building? It's just the only thing that I've ever done my entire life. But I promise you, the Donald J. Trump Library, and I can't give you details yet, but it is the most beautiful structure you've ever seen. You're going to start seeing designs of it sooner rather than later.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. So I was going to ask, like, there's no teaser. Will it be a skyscraper? Will it be just, we know that it's going to be Miami.
Manny,
we have the announcement tweet right here.
My problem is I love you too much. I can't do it. I love you too. I love you. I love. Right. I'm not giving anybody any tidbits other than the fact that it's freaking spectacular, and it's going to be very well warranted. And honestly, there is no project that I could be associated with that I care more about than honoring that man based on everything he's gone through. It's going to be. I'll put my entire heart and soul into it, and it's going to be spectacular.
Can I make a humble suggestion?
Tell me.
It's totally out of bounds for me because I don't have a background in this, but can I make a humble suggestion from the audience? Because I know the audience wants this. Corporate media has paid you close to $100 million in settlements. Much of that goes towards the presidential library. So please, for the love of God, make the fake news wing of the library sponsored by ABC News and CBS and 60 Minutes, and put their logos right up there and just show everyone who paid for the fake news wing of the library.
By the way, I hadn't thought of that, but that's beautiful. We could do a floor dedicated to, and what we'll do is we'll just roll the 60-minute clip over and over of how they doctored Kamala's interview. And we can roll Charlottesville over and over and over of how they just cut out this little segment and forgot, 3 words at the end of the sentence. And Yeah, I actually think that'd be a great exhibit about how dishonest these people are and how they will lie, cheat, and steal. We can probably put the Stephanopoulos interview in there with JD, with JD from 2 days ago. I mean, that would be a great one, and we can remind people who all of these people are. In fact, that Stephanopoulos literally ran the Clinton war room, but now they have to fairly moderate debates. We could certainly put 60 Minutes on there as well when Leslie Stahl said, hey, they did not spy on Donald Trump's campaign, even though they were clearly spying on Donald Trump's campaign. Hey, there's a lot of fodder out there. Believe me, I will make, in honor of Benny Johnson, and because I think it's a phenomenal freaking idea that I'm really upset that I didn't think about myself, I will do an entire floor dedicated to the fake news, and I'll have a little trademark in your honor, Benny. That's a wonderful idea, and I promise I will accomplish that for you. Make no mistake, I will accomplish that for you.
This is the time for cheers. This is the time for cheers, Klein. Yes, thank you. This is the time for cheers. Thank you. That has made my week.
And by the way, there's an area in there for Charlie as well, because you better believe he's a hell of a part of this journey, and he certainly needs to be honored in that building.
Wow. The fake news wing, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. What a remarkable journey. I know, Eric, that you have a slam-packed day today. If you'll allow me, just a closing question on the response to what's happened over the last 24 hours, 48 hours. You started off with your father going to heaven. Many people saying that actually perhaps Charlie's memorial was the first time they really heard your father speak in deep earnest about his faith, and your brother Don. And that ain't never happened before on a live stage, right? Where Don Jr. and Donald Trump Sr. both profess Christ. That is very rare. What, if anything, that's a miracle that Charlie brought, truly. And it's just because I think that your family's private about these kind of things, and that's very old school, and that's the way a lot of people are. But perhaps you could tell the internet, who was everyone was so earnestly concerned about your dad saying, "I'm not going to heaven," and I think he was just saying it kind of as a joke, right? But either way, tell me quickly about his faith. I'm sure that it's covered in the book Under Siege, out today, link in the description. But maybe you could end with that, right? How does your father practice his faith?
Yeah. Well, he doesn't wear it on his sleeve like so many people, right? I can't tell you how many phony politicians that I've met who wear it on their sleeve and they pretend to be somebody that they're not. My father tries to do the right thing, and he's there to do the right thing. And that's the man he is. I mean, he believes in God. Obviously God is, guiding this journey, but yet he's humble. I mean, in Butler, you remember his first words were, "I wasn't meant to be here." And you had the entire audience are all wearing the patch on the ear say, "Yes, you were. Yes, you were." So, what you heard yesterday was almost an extension of Butler. It's almost this kind of self-deprecating type, it's humbleness that's coming out of him. At the same time, I have to say, and I don't mean to go from kind of the thoughtful and spiritual to kind of the funny, right? But I'm not sure if you were watching the speech yesterday when he was in the cabinet, all the Israelis were around, and he looks down at Bibi Netanyahu and he goes, my daughter, she's happy to be here. She loves the great people of Israel, and she loves Judaism, and she converted, Bibi. She converted, and Bibi, this was not necessarily in the cards. I can tell you this much. This was her becoming Orthodox was not in the cards, and the entire parliament was laughing, right? I mean, he's been a guy who's always been able to bring some kind of levity to religion, which was normally kind of against the rules, for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. And he did that. I mean, literally, here he is, Christian guy speaking in a predominantly, obviously, Jewish room, talking about, a daughter converting and how, he would have never seen that in his wildest dreams, but yet it's beautiful. And that's why she's there, and her love for Israel and love for the Jewish people. And, I don't think too many other people could kind of get away with that, nor would they have ever gone down that, down that road. Right. And I think that's what people find endearing about him. The fact that he's really honest. He's never somebody else. He's never fake. Yes. He never pretends to be the Bible thumper that certain people in politics pretend to be, because they think it's otherwise going to benefit them in some way, shape, or form, even though they're kind of total phonies in their entire life. No different when he showed up at the Iowa State Fair, right? As a politician, I watch half these guys. I'm not going to throw out names because I don't need to start insulting people. I mention it. I talk about it a lot in Under Siege, but how many people throw on a pair of Carhartts, their work boots, their steel toe work boots. They've never worn a pair of boots in their life, right? they would hop on a Harley Davidson 300 yards away from the gates of the Iowa State Fair. They'd ride their Harley in there. Like, they look like total phonies. I mean, they don't know like the shift pattern on a Harley yet. They practically fall. They don't know where the kickstand is. They rented the thing three minutes ago. They're riding. The sticker is still on their Carhartts. I've never been washed. I've never been used. I have no grease or oil on them. And they want to be considered like authentic people, right? Yeah, my father flies in on his helicopter from New York in a suit and a red tie. And that's what people adore him. Like he doesn't fake it. He clearly believes. There's no one, believe me, especially after what he's gone through. There's no one believes in faith more than him at this point. But at the same time, he doesn't. He doesn't act. He's not an actor. He's true to himself, and he says what's on his heart and in his soul. And I think you saw that yesterday.
All right, great information, folks. As you can see, this does come from Benny Johnson. I've given him a thumbs up. I am subscribed to his channel. I hope you do the same thing for me. All right, let's jump back here. Glenn Beck. Is AIPAC proof that Israel controls the U.S.? I've heard a lot of people talk about that. And it is kind of strange the way that AIPAC kind of contributes to a lot of the politicians in Washington, D.C. But let's see what Glenn Beck has to say.
There is a phrase that is carved into the marble at the Supreme Court, and it says equal justice under the law. Equal justice under the law. That is the one thing that we have really forgotten about here in America, it seems. You want special justice. You want justice for this group or that group. But no, I want equal justice. It's why justice is blindfolded. Justice should never see who's at the bench. They should see what are the facts of the case. And who's at the bench should not make a difference. I don't care if you're rich or you're poor, you're homeless, or you're Bill Gates. I don't really care. I want to know the facts. And then we judge that not looking at the person. That's the closest we can come to perfect justice. And the more we take that blindfold off of justice, the more corrupt justice becomes. And we know this because that's why if you were black back in the day, you couldn't get a fair hearing. You couldn't get a fair trial because justice wasn't blindfolded. Okay? That's why it's up on the Supreme Court. Equal justice under the law. And it's not a suggestion. It's not a slogan. It is the beating heart of the American experiment. No man, no movement, no institution, no creed stands above the law. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because last week I was at a Turning Point event in North Dakota, and I said all the way through, I hate these questions and answers things because I hate conflict, and I also don't believe anybody is doing anything other than trying to win. When you're in a crowd, somebody is trying to win. I don't play that game. I don't like that game. I like honest questioning, and you also have to have a debate where you can talk about subtle things. You have to be able to look at things. Not everything is black and white. There is right and wrong, yes. But now how do we get there? For instance, yesterday I talked to you about AI. Earlier, it seems like last week already. Earlier in hour number 1 of the podcast, I was talking to you about AI. And I don't know the right answer on that yet. We have to have that debate. But an honest debate on things. So last week I started taking questions, and boy, did they take these and selectively edit. Interesting. But I was asked, Glenn, how come AIPAC, that's the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, how come they don't register as a foreign agent under FARA, the Foreign Agents Registration Act? Well, I know that Hunter Biden was supposed to, register under that, or was he? Now, I said at the time, I don't know anything about it. I haven't looked into that, but I will do my homework on it because I want to know. And my guess is if they don't, then there's something wrong with our law. Okay? Either they're getting special favors that they shouldn't, or many people are getting special favors and they shouldn't. Everyone should have to obey the law and equal treatment. Justice is blind. Okay, so let me tell you now. I went home. I did my homework. Let me tell you what I found on AIPAC. First of all, It is bigger than AIPAC, much bigger. It is a mirror held up to an uneven application of American law. Let me tell you what FARA is supposed to do. It was passed in 1938 to stop the Nazi propaganda. There were lots of Nazis here in America. And it requires anyone that is working on behalf of a foreign government to register as a foreign agent. Seems simple, but is it? It requires transparency and accountability, but here's where it gets murky in the law. AIPAC is an American lobbying organization, registered under the Lobbying Disclosure Act, not FARA, because it's funded and run by American citizens, not a foreign government. Now, that's the legal line. Now, I don't agree with this, but that's the legal line. But AIPAC is not the only one running this. So why are we only hearing about the Jews controlling the government and AIPAC doing it when they're not the only one? Did you know the National Iranian American Council, the Armenian Assembly of America, the Turkish Heritage Organization, even Saudi Arabia's Aramco, their subsidiary Motiva, operate under exactly the same? You want Saudi Arabia and Aramco? Why are they not paying it? Why are they not registered under FARA? Now, some people will defend this because they say these are groups of diaspora. They are U.S.-based subsidiaries. They have domestic roots, etc. I don't buy any of that bullcrap. I mean, that's me. I mean, we can argue it, but I don't agree with it. Because I think it is a really dangerous loophole that allows quiet foreign money to come in and influence and hide behind a U.S. address. But here's where it gets serious. This is not just a legal issue. This is about truth. When you and I, or anyone else, begin selecting only the facts that make our point while ignoring those that don't, we stop doing research and we start doing propaganda. If you've listened to voices that pick and choose data to inflame your anger, you have to start asking yourself this question: is my source being honest? I ask you all the time, do your own homework. I'm the guy, I think, who popularized that with the youth now. Do your own homework. Don't take my word for it. Do your own homework. But that requires that you do homework on all fronts. You ask honest questions. Am I wrong? Is this wrong? I want to read the opposite side, and I want to see what's credible on both sides and bring it together. For example, once you learn that the Iranians, Cubans, Saudis, Armenians, and Turks all have the same objection, yet it's only the Jewish organization that is accused of secretly controlling Washington, do you see a disturbing pattern here? Because the argument starts to sound less like a legal concern and more like something far older and darker. And that was my point. I said, look, you don't have to agree with Israel. I don't want to fight their wars. I don't want to do anything. I support them in their right to defend themselves as they see fit. Okay? I don't support anything like genocide. I don't believe they're doing genocide. I do believe Hamas is. And I do believe you can make a very, very clear case that Hamas, Hezbollah, Iran are evil. And I said, look, you don't have to accept Israel, and you don't have to accept Hamas. You can say nobody's a good guy in this. But when you look at things like AIPAC, if there's more, and this is what I said, if it's about something legal, then we have to correct that, and the argument would be over. I could say what I'm saying today and say, look, we should have listened to Tom Cotton. He introduced legislation on this. All of this has to stop. So let's do that. Why are we dividing ourselves on an ancient, Jews control the world thing when that's not even true about AIPAC? Okay? Because everybody else is doing it too. The problem isn't Judaism. It's not Islam. It's not any one nation. Quite honestly, if you want to be honest, the problem is our laws and our politicians. Equal justice under the law. It must be our demand every day. Jew, Muslim, Gentile, Hunter Biden, everyone should be the same under the law. What's happened instead is that this loophole has become a weapon, and people twist it to their own their own delight, to suggest that AIPAC, runs the U.S. government and the Pentagon and the president, which is laughable, especially this week. That is laughable. Just look at the events of the last few days. Do you really think that Donald Trump is being controlled by Israel? Have you heard what he has said to Benjamin Netanyahu? Have you seen all of the Egyptians and the Saudis and everybody else in the Arab world all now lining up for this peace? When he bombed Iran, he's not fighting Israel's war. When he bombed Iran, he wasn't on Israel. It wasn't for Israel any more than it was for Egypt and Saudi Arabia. You found out yesterday that the one thing they all unite on is that Iran is the real problem there. And what he did was a show of peace through strength, the same principle that ended the decades of stalemate between Arab nations and Israel. And here's another thing.
I'm sorry, I got to jump in here. Now, when Donald Trump does things, there are tons of people that second guess what he does. But don't you think that he might have a little bit of inside information? Like this thing where he bombed Iran. I mean, this was, kind of, he talked about it and then boom, it happened. Okay, and of course the mainstream media went off the edge on it. But he knew what Glenn Beck was talking about back before he bombed Iran. He has inside information that we aren't privy to. So, when he does something, sometimes you can go, wonder why he did that. But I think he does it for a reason. And I believe 99.99% of the time, it's a good reason. Just want to throw that out there, folks.
When you stop sending pallets of cash to your enemies and you start saying, don't do that anymore, and I'm serious, they tend to listen. And what was the result? You could speculate, and I worried at the time. I said it on the air. I'm worried that this could escalate things, but it didn't. So what is the result? The result was not an endless war where we're over fighting, in the Middle East. I don't want that. Neither do you. The result was true Arab-Israeli peace, the first chance of true peace in a millennia. And now he's taken that credibility of saying, look, I'll be tough on the Arabs. I'll be tough on the Iranians. I'll be tough on the Jews. I'll be tough on Hamas. However, I will say, Hamas, you do these things, and I'm with you. He yesterday invited Iran into the League of Nations. Look, just because we bombed you, it doesn't mean we hate you. We want you to have peace. So come on in. Now he's taken that same credibility, and now he's turning it towards Russia and Ukraine, and he's doing that. He's meeting with the leadership of Ukraine on Friday, and he's going to apply the same exact principle. And here's what's going to happen. The same people who said he was once a Russian puppet will now accuse him of getting us into a war with Russia and do Ukraine's bidding. Which one is it? Which one is it? May I suggest a third reason? Maybe, just maybe, for the first time, I believe, in my lifetime, we are seeing an American president doing America's bidding, trying to broker peace, trying to keep us out of these endless wars. Because honestly, isn't that what all of us want? I don't care who you voted for. Do you want more foreign wars? Because I don't. I'm tired of it. Do you want to see more blood and treasure spilled in some unknown country? Isn't that what we all want, is an end to these wars? No more young Americans spilling their blood in distant deserts or frozen tundras for somebody else's freedom who I don't even know if they really want freedom? I want freedom here. I want to be able to show the world what people who actually understand what freedom is, know what the high price is that we have to pay for our own freedom, not your freedom, our freedom. What we can do with that freedom. We want to be a shining city on the hill that everybody can look at and go, look at those guys. I want to be more like them. Not going over to other countries and jamming it down their throat. I want peace, but peace grounded in strength and honesty. and the unbreakable, carved in stone promise of equal justice under the law. That's what we have to do to restore faith in the Republic. We have to stop taking little bits and pieces, look at the whole thing and say, what's corrupt? Well, what's corrupt here might have started as a good thing, but it's no longer a good thing. We have to change the law. Equal justice under the law. I'm sorry. If you are doing the bidding, Hunter Biden or AIPAC or the Iranian Council or Armenian Council or whatever, I'm sorry. We have to tighten this down because money has changed. It's changed. Things that were happening in 1945, 1955, 65, 85, 95, 2005, it's changed. And I don't want any foreign influence coming into this country unless we know exactly you're influencing for a foreign country. Because this is what makes us different than every other country that's come before. And that's not ideology, that's not party, that's not tribe. That's how we have to define America again if we're going to survive. So you may not like it. Sorry, but you asked me to do my own homework on AIPAC. There it is.
All right. Okay, I kind of liked it. I hope you liked it too. All right. This is the video I shared with you from Glenn Beck. I am subscribed to his channel. I did give him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. Okay, let's jump back here and see what's next. And it looks like X22 report is episode 3752A, financial information. Bessent says shutdown will hurt economy. Trump moves all pieces into place. Okay, well, let's check it out.
.com. Let's get right into the economic collapse financial news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, the private central bank, the World Economic Forum, you can see they're continually trying to box Trump in. And they're trying to force the entire economic system into a place where it can't recover. And I do believe they're using the shutdown, and it looks like Scott Bessent actually confirms this. They're using the shutdown to hurt the economy. And yes, I do believe they think if they keep the entire economic system, the government, everything shut down for as many days as possible, they'll be able to bring the economy to its knees. But again, you have to remember Trump and team, they always have a counter plan. And think about it. They keep everything shut down. The tariff system is still operational. Everything that he's doing for the parallel economic system is still working. Plus, those individuals that are able to cut the swamp creatures in government, they are able to do this, and they're able to reduce the number of people working. They're able to reduce the number of agencies that we have. And a lot of these people, a lot of these agencies aren't coming back. Plus, we could see a lot of agencies right now. What are they doing? They're deregulating. So Trump right now is putting all the pieces together. He's using the shutdown to his advantage. And yes, will it hurt the central bank system? Of course it will. But in the end, as he removes the different agencies, as he removes the swamp creatures, as he deregulates, he's putting all the pieces in place for his parallel economic system. And yes, we saw just over the weekend, we saw China, the central bankers, they try to pull a fast one and they try to box Trump in by saying, hey, listen, we're going to basically shut down the rare earth minerals. And they thought they had Trump, and Trump countered them with tariffs and basically made them fold. And you can see China right now, they have confirmed that they're at working level talks with the U.S. regarding tariffs and export controls. So basically, they have folded, and they are now in discussion because they realize their plan did not work whatsoever. And think about what Trump and the Patriots have done. They have now made sure that we're able to get the rare earth minerals. Pentagon is purchasing it like crazy. Plus, Alaska has scored a big antimony refinery. Antimony, SB on the periodic table, is a strategic mineral with many applications. Shooters will recognize it, as it is frequently allied with lead to make a harder, more durable alloy for cast bullets. We should note that lead antimony alloys have many other uses, from lead acid batteries to sailboat keels. Antimony is used in other alloys as well, such as anti-friction alloys, electric cable sheathing, and type metals for printing presses, which apparently are not completely extinct yet. It also used in flame retardants, and this is key, in semiconductors. It also has applications in pharmaceuticals. A key strategic mineral, Alaska has antimony. Now in Alaska, a company called Nova Minerals, with a grant from the War Department, has a contract to build an antimony refinery at Port McKenzie, west of Anchorage. With Pentagon backing and a goal to begin delivering Alaska-sourced antimony into U.S. supply chains by 2027, Nova Minerals Ltd. has secured a 42.8-acre site at Port McKenzie, west of Anchorage, for a refinery that would process antimony concentrates from its Estelle project and other sources. So right now, Trump and team, they're setting up all the pieces because they know moving forward, we need to bring everything back. We need to make sure we have the refineries. We need to make sure that we have the mines, and we need to make sure that we can counter everything the deep state, the central bankers have been trying to do. And this is what Trump has been doing. And with the One Big Beautiful Bill, it's allowing the Pentagon to purchase a lot of the rare earth minerals that this country will need. And at the same time, we're setting up the mines, setting up the refineries. So by doing both of these, this is actually going to help the country and counter what the central bank and the deep state players have been trying to do. And I do believe this is why China, one of the reasons why China has folded, because they started to realize that they really don't have the leverage that they thought they had, and Trump has a lot more leverage. Now, think about it. The deep state players, they believe that by keeping the entire government shut down, they're going to be able to actually have the central bank economic system buckle under the pressure. And I do believe this is what the central bankers want, the deep state players want. But I think Trump and the Patriots, they are definitely leading them down this path. Remember, last time Trump was in office, the government was shut down for 35 days. I do believe we're going to go beyond this, probably, maybe to the 61-day mark, because, again, that is the magic number where Trump will be able to say, hey, you know, all those people that we laid off, you know, all the agencies that we closed, it's now permanent. But what's very interesting is that Scott Bessent, he let everyone know that the shutdown had already begun to affect the U.S. economy. And he's letting everyone know that the deep state players are responsible for all this. Think about it. He's now shifting the narrative onto them, letting everyone know they're the ones who are causing the economy to fall apart right now. And when people feel the pressure, when people see what's happening, they're going to understand, wow, the D's, they're the ones who created this problem. Now, again, you have to remember, Trump and the Patriots, they're using this to their advantage because they are definitely setting everything up. Because once we come out of this shutdown, what do you think is going to happen to the economic system as Trump puts all the pieces into place? Removes a lot of the people, removes a lot of the agencies, removes a lot of the regulations. And we have OPEC right now producing oil like crazy. So when we come out of all of this, what do you think the economic system is going to do? It's going to bounce back like we've never seen before. And this leads us to what? The Federal Reserve, because we do have those inside the Federal Reserve where they don't want to cut rates anymore. We have the other side that's saying, yes, this is the perfect time. And one of those individuals is Anna Paulson. She is now saying that we need to look through the tariff-driven inflation and we need to basically say, all right, this was temporary and maybe we should have rate cuts now. Now, of course, the Fed, they are divided right now. We know that Trump wants to gain full leverage of the Federal Reserve. He wants to get rid of Cook. But I think in the end, he might have enough individuals to actually push the rate cuts. Now, of course, as we know, the Fed doesn't want to do this. And I'm not talking about other individuals within the Fed governors. I'm talking about those people that are controlling the Federal Reserve, controlling Powell right now, because we know that they don't want the economy to grow. They don't want the people of this country and the people of the world to understand that Trump's system that he's building right now and everything that he's doing is absolutely working with all the investments coming to this country. And this is why Trump has been putting all the pieces together, because he knows eventually what's going to happen is he's going to wean us off the Federal Reserve, and eventually he's going to flip the switch and we're going to be moving into the new system, just like they did back in 1971. They prepared everything in the Middle East. They prepared the petrodollar in the Middle East. And when the time was right, they flipped the switch and we moved from the gold standard to the petrodollar system. Now, of course, back then, they didn't care if there was a deep recession. They didn't care if people lost their jobs. They didn't care if the UK had rolling blackouts. They didn't care about any of those things. Now, I don't know if you know this, but gold...
Okay, let me get past his commercial here.
Noble Gold before making investment decisions. The difference this time around, Trump is making sure that the people don't lose their wealth, that we don't go into a recession, and the country stays very, very strong. That is the difference this time around. And this is why Trump has been bringing in investments like crazy into this country, because he knows he needs to make sure that once we move in the direction of the parallel economic system, he needs to make sure that people are employed. He needs to make sure that the manufacturers are back in this country. He needs to make sure that the regulations are removed. He needs to make sure that the energy is at its lowest point. He needs to make sure that all these things in place, because as we move into the new system, we can't have all these expenses. We can't have all these regulations, and we can't hurt the people of this country. And I do believe this is why, and we mentioned this yesterday, why JP Morgan Chase has been kind of pushed into investing into this country. And they have unveiled, like we said before, an election wizard put this out, $1.5 trillion, a 10-year plan to finance and invest in the critical American industry, including critical minerals, pharmaceutical precursors, robotics, defense, aerospace, energy, AI, cybersecurity, and quantum computer. JP Morgan Chase says it will directly invest up to $10 billion to help companies, primarily in the U.S., in these categories. It has become painfully clear that the United States has allowed itself to become too reliant on unreliable sources of critical minerals, products, and manufacturing, all of which are essential for our national security. And that's absolutely true. And it's all coming back to this country. And you can see the deep state players, they are definitely panicking, because remember, every step of the way, Trump is not just sitting back going, look at this, the country's shut down. Look at this, the shutdown is causing havoc on the economic system. He's using all of this to his advantage. And one of them is removing all the swamp creatures that were put into place, all the different agencies that were created, all the different programs that the deep state players have created. So basically, just like any company, he's removing all the waste, and he's going to remove a lot of it during this shutdown. This has to be done because as we move out of the private central bank system, you have to remember, the private central bank system allowed the deep state players to create the bloat. And I do believe the central bankers wanted that because, again, when you create the bloat, you create these agencies, they make it very, very difficult to remove them later on because they say, no, they're needed. Oh, we need these people. We need this agency. We need these programs. But Trump, he's using this to his advantage to remove all of it. And think about it. What are they going to say? Oh, you can't do this? You go, well, we're in a shutdown. We can't afford this. So this agency, we really don't need. We looked into it, and we really don't need it. Hey, these people working in the agency, they do absolutely nothing. We don't need those people. And to top all of this off, what Trump is doing right now is he's removing the regulations. So this way, it will make it a lot easier for oil companies. It will make it a lot easier for manufacturers to come back to this country and for small businesses in this country. And remember, one of the biggest agencies that have been pushing out regulations is the EPA. And we have Lee Zeldin in this position right now. And you know what he's been doing this entire time? He is basically removing all the regulations. Jack put this out and said the left is panicking. Trump's EPA chief, Lee Zeldin, drops a bombshell on deregulation. Trillions.
Excellent.
We're unleashing trillions in deregulation in a single year.
Yes.
The Trump EPA will outpace every federal agency under every past presidency combined. And think about it. The EPA, they use this agency to place a lot of the regulations on America to stop companies, manufacturers, you name it. And now, as all this is removed and it frees up trillions of dollars and allows companies to do what they do best, we're going to see the entire economic system start to thrive. And remember, this stuff does not happen overnight. It takes a little while. So as Trump puts all the pieces into place and he sets up the cheaper energy, he sets up the investments, he sets up the deregulation, he removes the agencies that absolutely are not needed whatsoever. He removes all the programs that we don't need, that we never needed, and he removes all those people that are in these agencies working these programs. Once he puts all these things into place, he's going to establish a path where the country then can then transition from the old central bank system into his new parallel economic system that has.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause that there. He's got about 6 minutes left in this video, but great information. I certainly hope. I know X22 report can sometimes be a little bit optimistic, but I hope he's on the straight and narrow here, because that sounds great. The deep state, they are panicking. They are panicking, and the more they panic, the more bullshit they're going to throw at the wall and hope it sticks. Let me click on this Rumble link and show you that this video does come from X22 report. All right, I'm following his channel. I've given him a thumbs up. I hope you do the same thing for me. I want to just share a little information here from my gold guy, okay? Pretty good stuff.
All right, folks. Quick reality check. The dollar's tanking, inflation's still eating away your savings, and Wall Street? It's a casino rigged for the elites. That's why you should trust my gold guy.
Go to mygoldguy.com and grab your free gold and silver guide. It's packed with real, no BS info on how to protect your wealth with physical precious metals, not digital promises or paper IOUs.
And here's the best part. When you connect with Ira Bershatsky, he's not a pushy salesman. There's zero pressure. He'll simply answer your questions and help you make the decision that's right for you. Plus, Ira's got some of the best rates in the entire industry.
So don't wait for the next economic shock to wipe out your portfolio. Head to mygoldguy.com right now. Fill out the quick form and get your free gold and silver guide today. Protect your savings before it's too late.
Okay, folks, as we get back here to the description box with the layout of the program, let me remind you that these videos that I've shared with you tonight are videos that come directly from the producers. Links to these videos are in the description box. As you can see here, I even have the links to the channels of the producers for these videos. In other words, X22 Report. X22 Report is the producer of this video. The link to this channel is, you click on it, and it takes you to X22 Report. It's kind of like magic. So getting back here, these videos that I have shared with you are videos that I've posted on Mertech.com, and Mertech.com's link is in the description box, where I have over 55 no-nonsense, common sense, logic, and truth videos. Here's a video I shared with you from Glenn Beck. All right. Down here's the video I shared with you from Wendy Bell and from X22 Report. Okay, so I don't have time to share all this information with you, but here's Benny Johnson's video that I shared with you. Right here, Benny Johnson. I don't have time to share all this information with you, but I do have my daily news wrap-up. And Deb Brand, if you're still listening, I've got a lot of Sky News information from Australia. I just started following their channel after I shared that one video with you with yesterday, I believe it was. And man, it seems like there's more information about the United States from an Australian news source than there is here in the United States. Some good details that I don't see here from the news, whatever, media here in the United States. So I've got a lot of that in my daily news wrap up. I've got over 80 videos in my playlist already. But I do need to take a break. I'll be back here about 9:30. Go ahead and grab a donut and a cup of coffee or a sandwich and a soft drink or a beer and meet me back here at 9:30. I want to go ahead and update some more information in my playlist, get my Rumble Studio video live stream ready for that. So let's take a break. But in the meantime, I do want to thank you. Before I close out here, let me just jump back here and show you that I've copied the live chats into a comment, because when this live stream is over, the live chats just kind of disappear. And I believe that the live chat is part of this video. And let me check on this. live chat is part of this video. Okay. Right, I've got 150 people watching right now, which is great. Thank you so very much, everybody that's watching this news and information that I try to put out. It's great that people know it, and maybe spread the word. Share this information with your friends, contacts, and family members. I've got 5 thumbs up. Okay? So if I could get, 145 of you to slide down here and give me a thumbs up, that would be fantastic. I would greatly appreciate that. So, with that being said, I do want to thank you for your time. Hopefully, I'll get to see you again later, and may God bless.